Assalamualaikum and hi. Today our group will present assignment 1 computer assembly demonstration.
Okay. To make sure the safety of the equipment involves, we have to set up a safe workspace. Setting up the workspace for the process of building a personal computer or PC needs to be organized into two separate categories of protection for internal components and protection of the technicians. Threats to the safety of the PC includes electrostatic discharge or ESD and liquids like water, soda, or alcohol, and etc. Electrostatic discharge can easily destroy internal components of the machine during the installation process. In order to circumvent this, there are several steps that should be taken seriously. Okay, the first one, you should always disconnect and unplug all sources of power before working on your computer. And the second one, some parts can store charge even after power has been disconnected. Allow some time for this to discharge naturally. Okay, next, never disassemble Never disassemble individual parts like your power supply or monitor. The last one, take care of sharp edges on your computer case which can cause cuts or injury. Okay, these are some of the tools that you're gonna need when assembling a PC. Okay, it's divided into two categories. Ones that are required and ones that are optional. You can either not use them or you can use them. Okay, the two tools that are required are Phillips head screwdrivers and flat head screwdrivers. And the optional tools are anti-static wrist strap, scissors, flashlight, and cable ties. Uh, uh, a small tip for handling these tools: set up your building workspace at a good height and ensure there is good lighting and plenty of room for you to work. Um, Static electricity can damage your parts, so make sure you discharge yourself on metal casing and do not work on a conductive surface. You can also wear an anti-static wrist strap for extra peace of mind. Alright, next. Okay, when building a PC, the first step that you have to do is open the case. You have to remove the back screws and take side cover off from the desktop. All right, next. The second step is to mount the motherboard. Screw the motherboard standoffs into the case, and then you have to punch rear I/O or input-output plate from the case if existing, and replace it with the motherboard here into the plate. All right. Next, after you've put the motherboard, you have to fasten the motherboard in the place on top of the mounting standoff so it not come off. All right.
Okay, continue with step 3, mount processor CPU. First one is locate the CPU socket holder on the motherboard. Lift up the latch lever to release and hinge open the CPU socket cover. Third, holding the CPU by its side, line up any alignment, notches, or the triangle on the corner of the CPU to the triangle marked on the motherboard to ensure the correct orientation. Gently place it straight down into the motherboard socket to seat the CPU. And 4, lower the CPU socket cover over the CPU of lower the latch lever close again to secure the CPU socket holder close. Step 4, install CPU cooler. Okay, the first one, if required, apply thermal paste to the back of CPU like a photo show. Okay, second, set CPU heatsink cooler and fix in position. Plug the power cable attached to the cooler fan into the motherboard connector. And step 5 is install power supply PSU. The first one is mount the power supply and fasten with screws to the case mounting points. Plug the largest cabling connector from the power supply cabling into the motherboard power connector. Third, the Third, plug the 8-pin cabling connector from the power supply cabling into the CPU power connector.
Okay, I will continue with the step 6, which is mount memory RSM. Yes, firstly, you need to press to open the clips at both ends of the RAM mounting slot. Second, line up the notch of the RAM stick with the mounting slot. Third, seat the RAM and press it firmly down into the slot. The tab should automatically latch close as you press the RAM down, securing the RAM in place. Okay, the fourth, install any other RAM stick using the same process. Step 7, install graphic cards. Remove the extension slot covers from the rear of your case where the graphic card will sit. The graphic card slot into a PCI expansion slot on the lower half of the motherboard. Line it up and press down firmly to seat the card. Put in the screw to hold the graphic card in place. And lastly, plug in the power connector cable from your power supply into graphic card power connector. Step 8, mount storage drive. First, mount storage drive in the case drive base. Fix the drive in place with screw through the case frame into the case mounting hole located on the storage drive. Second, connect the drive to the motherboard using a SATA cable. Third, plug in power cabling to the storage drive. And lastly is mount any storage drive in the same way.
Okay, next is step 9, which is mount optical drive. Firstly, we need to remove any front panels from the computer case where the optical drive will sit. Second, mount optical drive in the case by fixing with screw through the case frame into the case mounting holes located on the optical drive. Third, connect the optical drive to the motherboard using a SATA cable. Lastly, plug in power cabling from your power supply to the optical drive. Next, for step 10, which is connect case fans and front panel connectors. First, mount any case fans within case as a required using the supplied screw or clips. Number 2, connect any case fan power connectors to the multiple fan header located at various places on the motherboard. Number 3, identify the cabling from the front panel ports of the PC. These front panel connectors will need to be plugged into the motherboard so that button and inputs outputs on the case front panel will work. Number 4, connect any panel audio connector to the motherboard front audio header. Number 5, connect any front panel USB connector to the motherboard USB headers. And lastly, connect the front panel case connector to motherboard front panel input output headers. Okay, for the last step, close case and connect peripherals. First, place the side cover back on. Second, secure the side panel with case screw. And lastly, connect peripherals device include mouse, monitor, keyboard, speaker, and etc.
Okay, that's all. Demonstration how to assemble a personal computer from our group. Thank you.